Hello and welcome to another Doctor's Assistant 1 video, and today I'm taking a look at Inferno. So previously I reviewed, or at least previously in terms of the classic Doctor Who episodes that I reviewed Megalos, which is a 4th Doctor episode from season 18, and from that we've gone back to season 7, the last story in season 7, Inferno, which is the special edition one that I've got. The packaging is as usual, you got Jumper Twee there, the Jumper Twee years, even, 1970 to 1974, PG, 2-disc set, Doctor Who, Inferno, special edition, new BBC logo, really cool sort of like cover in comparison to the original, which was very, very dull and boring. I should know I had that one. BBC, PG, all the other same stuff on the front really. Legal guff at the bottom, commentaries and special features and so on, which are more than the original one, of course, or the non-special edition one. Bio on the story, you've got the sort of strip of screenshots from the episode, and then on the inside you have the 2 discs and the writer's notes and leaflet thing. So on to what I thought of this story. I thought it was superb. I thought it flows very nicely. It's very well written, directed, it's one of those stories, even though it's a 7-part long Jumper Twee era story. I've never had a gripe with Jumper Twee's Doctor per se. It's just the fact that the format of his episodes are very long and long-winded, and so I feel like I have to have a full afternoon to watch them. And that's not always going to be the case, unfortunately. But then on the flip side, he has some shorter stories, but then I always feel like they don't work as well, or they'd be better suited for, say, Tom Baker's Doctor or Peter Davison's even, Doctor. But here, this story, although it's 7 parts long, it flows very, very well. The fluidity and pace of the story is superb, there's never a dull moment, there's a lot of action, there's a load of good cliffhangers. Not all of them are brilliant, but there are a lot of good cliffhangers. There are some nitpicks here and there, like the transition from our reality to theirs, or their parallel world sort of thing. Could have been done better instead of using this sort of disco ball type thing, but it was the first time Doctor Who's ever done a parallel Earth story, and it just worked, it just shows that Doctor Who is all about, experimenting with different and out there ideas, because it's forced to sort of do that, because back then it was on a budget. Also, it's pretty insane to think that this is the last story, the 4th episode in Jon Pertwee's era, and I just feel like, immediately he is just the Doctor. He is so the Doctor it hurts, He's, karate chopping people left, right and centre. He's calling people a nitwit, which I love. It's just so right for the role and just works for it, and I like the idea of the contrast from Pat Troughton's sort of cosmic hobo to this sort of very straight, down the middle sort of scientist character. And although he's referred to as the 007 type character, I like the fact that, or when I perceive him, or when I'm not forced to watch a Doctor Who episode, but when I watch a Jon Pertwee episode, I see him more as the Doctor, but being a bit 007-like. Like, I'd never say he is 007 at all, because the thing is, where 007 for me, I just perceive him as this sort of brute force and action hero. The Doctor is that, or this incarnation of the Doctor has the ability to use force, but because he's got brains behind that force, he only uses it appropriately, He's not just an idiot like, say, the Brigade Leader. The Brigade Leader hides behind a gun and then breaks down at the sight of any danger. The Doctor can use karate, but doesn't hide behind it when there's bigger danger that can't just be karate chopped in the face, Liz Shaw is good in this, and so is Nicholas Courtney, but my gripe with their characters is the fact that their characters aren't in this story that much. Their parallel Earth versions of themselves are, and because of that, it just it was a breath of fresh air, and it was a rarity, probably, or would still be a rarity, maybe now that the supporting characters got so much to do in a Doctor Who story, you know. In the parallel Earth, they are very much the forefront of the story, you know. They are there to sort of flex their acting ability, and Nicholas Courtney as the brigade leader is just superb, you know. Again, he goes from this sort of totalitarian dictator, vindictive, horrible dictator type character to this sort of whimpering, cowardly, you know, I don't want to die type character. And then Liz Shaw is really good in this, you know. As I say, the direction, the pace of it's very good. It goes by pretty quickly, and it doesn't feel like it's, you know, one of those stories where 1 minute you're there, 1 minute you're there, 1 minute you're there, 1 minute you're there, you know. It's not, although there's a lot of, you know, going up and down corridors, it doesn't feel like that, because instead of going up and down the exact same corridors, as weird as this sounds, you might go from here to here, but then you might then go to the parallel Earth version, or the other parallel world where they're there and they're going that way, you know. And then, you know, there are differences, you know. For example, there's this character who dies in the parallel Earth, parallel world type character dies in that because of a car crash, and then in our universe, or our parallel world, we're led to believe that he then dies as well, but then it's only until near the end, or pretty much the end, where we get told actually he didn't die, which I quite like the suspense of that. Again, there are some cracking cliffhangers, there are some not so good cliffhangers, and then there are some better ones. It is very much an experimental Doctor Who episode, and much like Ambassadors of Death, they even experiment with the title sequence, where the title sequence sort of stops for a bit, and then there's like imagery of a volcano, and then the sort of text comes up from that, you know, the writer and the episode, you know, which episode it is, or in my case, part, because I prefer to refer to these as part 1 to 7, you know. You know, it's a 7-part story with one episode, in my head anyway. And then you've got stuff about Krakatoa, you know, you just got the Doctor being awesome, and, you know, you got this, you know, this amazing sort of realization the Doctor has on his face when he realizes, actually, you know, not only can I go forwards and backwards in time, but I could potentially go sideways in time, you know. He just looks flabbergasted and amazed, and, you know, I love that about the Doctor, that even though, as well, like, when he first goes there, or he goes into this weird limbo-like state, and it's horrible, even though after that happened, he's like, I must go back there again, and Liz Shaw's even like, what, are you crazy, you almost died, you could have died, sort of thing. And he's like, but for science, I need to do this, you know. His curiosity always gets the best of him, as Davros would say. I think Davros or someone has said that before, you know, and it's so apt, really, because in the name of science and in the name of his curiosity, it does get the better of him, and he just needs to know these uncertainties, these things that no other life form can know, or would ever, be able to know. You know, although it's Liz Shaw's last story, she just sort of, she never actually has a proper ending, and I'd say this is one of my biggest bugbears with this story, the fact that although it's her departure story, they never really did anything with that, you know. There's no clear indication, so I could imagine back then, being a fan of Doctor Who and watching it, that then to tune in to Terror of the Autons, it would be very odd to have realised that Liz Shaw's not there. You know, you don't even really get any explanation. She's just sort of seen laughing, the last scene. I think it's the cliffhanger for part 6 I absolutely adore. I think it's part 6, where they zoom out of the sort of hut like doors, and there's all that lava and stuff. I love that cliffhanger. I like the fact that they use sort of like just a red orangey type overlay over the camera to sort of indicate that it's so hot, and that, you know, the parallel Earth, and that it's very simplistic but very effective, I think. And that's how I describe this story: very simplistic but very, very effective. You know, you have your stereotype sort of dickhead character who no one really likes, and again the Doctor refers to as a nitwit. You know, you've got all these different characters, but they're all very much fleshed out. I can't remember all the names because, you know, classic Who and names are very ridiculous anyway, but or just Doctor Who in general and names are pretty ridiculous. But the point is, they all felt like fleshed out characters, and they all felt like they had an element to the story, and you know, and sufficiently adequately played out that part, you know, and that no one felt underused or overused. No one felt really sort of, you know, hammy or camp, you know, and that, you know, in the sense that they were like really over the top or dramatic, you know, trying to upstage someone else or anything like that. So yeah, I would easily give this a 10 out of 10. I adore Inferno. Inferno is easily one of the best Jon Pertwee stories from his run, hands down. One of his best performances, best story in my opinion from his era, or one of the best stories from his era anyway. It's definitely not the last. So this is a first really for me to give a 10 out of 10 classic Doctor Who story. So yeah, I would definitely recommend Inferno for anyone who's any bit the Jon Pertwee fan. Thanks for watching, comment, rate and subscribe.